All right, Jaylo, how are you doing?
I'm doing great.
It's the day after your birthday.
It is, and yesterday was wonderful. And mostly because of you, puppy.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that, babe.
I didn't get to, like I said before in the last episode, I didn't get to see you last year.
I remember.
Yeah, that was very good. I wasn't able to see my family either.
You were all alone in your small bedroom.
I wasn't completely alone, but we were literally isolating ourselves from each other in our house. So there was people there, but it didn't seem like much of a birthday.
But this year,
yes,
I hung out, we spent the day together, and had a very good time, I feel.
Yeah, we ordered some Panda Express because I said, you know what, I don't want to cook, I don't want you to cook. Why don't we just get something that we both like?
I just ate it super fast.
Yes, you did. I still have my lunch to eat. And you said you went a little hard on the chicken, but you know, I think it's a good stuff for you, Bubs.
Once in a while, babes.
Once in a while for you, but yeah, I had a great day. I still have some people to call back, relatives I haven't been able to talk to yesterday, but and we watched some good movies, and the cake I bought was a Boston cream double layer cake. It was so good. Oh.
We had cookies and cream ice cream and a little bit of chocolate syrup.
Oh yeah. And what I did, because we only have 2 slices left in the container, so I decided to put the rest of the cake in the freezer so that when you come back, we'll get to finish that up.
That'll be awesome, babes.
Yes.
Last night, I had to do my documentary group.
Yes.
We talked about the selection I made, which was Sun Ra, Brother from Another Planet.
Mm.
And afterwards, we had the cake.
Yes.
Your sister called. You two talked for a while. I played on YouTube, and then we got to the movies. But it was a really fun night. I'm glad I got to spend your special day with you, babes.
Yes. And just to be clear, for anyone who didn't know, I share a birthday with my sister.
You're twins.
Yes, we are twins. And I had a hard time calling her because it kept telling me that her phone's voicemail was too full. It's okay, though. We were able to catch up with each other, and I got to talk to my nieces and nephew.
I put in the order for Panda Express.
Mm-hmm.
The guy calls me. I say, hey, listen, this is my girlfriend's apartment. I'm going to have to hang up with you, and you're going to have to use the call box.
Yeah.
Right after that, was it your niece who called you?
Yes.
So we thought it was the guy, and you answering, you're like, I gotta let you go.
I did. I said, I'll call you back, okay? And meanwhile, my sister wasn't available, so.
It was just your niece calling just to wish you a happy birthday.
Yeah, it was her calling, but
Nice.
I found out that my sister was sleeping, so.
Oh. They're usually not nice at that age, girls.
No, but they were, you know, they really are. I'm serious though. They are really nice kids. Yes, sometimes there are times where they get, you know, bouts with attitudes, but they're genuinely nice kids.
Mm.
Because they were taught to be compassionate and nice to others, and not accepting people to give them everything. And I mean, they're just really sweet kids. They really are.
There is this prototype of the teenage girl as being one of the most evil creatures on our planet.
Sometimes they can be. I'm telling you. I mean, they hog all the water. They take forever in the bathroom. I wasn't like that, by the way. They take forever in the bathroom. They're really like mouthy to their mothers, especially. I mean, they can be terrors. They really can. But so can teenage boys. I mean, they can eat. They're like professional eaters, and
I still haven't grown out of that phase, as we witnessed last night.
No, I'm like, I'm not even done with mine, and you're like, I'm almost done. I'm like, oh wow, where did it all go? You're not a big person, too.
No, I do need to lose a little bit of weight, though, if we're going to be completely honest.
Yes, well, I personally am happy with you, but if you feel like you need to lose weight, then by all means, go ahead and do that.
Yes, but your nieces are not creatures from the underworld
No.
who are just here to terrorize people.
No.
Despite the fact that they are in the
No, they're not. They're not devil girls. If that's what you're thinking.
Nice.
They're not from the underworld of.
They haven't come here just to steal makeup and gossip about boys.
No. No, and if they do have any attitude problems, their parents keep them in check really quickly.
Oh.
I mean, my brother-in-law, my brother-in-law was in the military at one time, and when he was a kid, he had to keep everything, spick and span and whatnot. So he had to keep everything in check and what have you. So, him and my sister are keeping their kids in check. So
Nice.
I'm not worried about that. But they really are nice kids.
Good.
Yeah. No, your relative I don't know about.
My relative? What relative is that?
Your little nephew.
Oh, my nephew's a great kid.
No, I'm just kidding. No, when he becomes a teenager, oh my goodness, he might be a terror.
Oh, well, that's a possibility. Yes.
Or he may not be. I don't know.
Oh, I was a great teenager, for the most part.
I don't know.
Except to the people around me.
Yeah, I don't know, Poge.
Oh.
Maybe if you're skipping school, you're not exactly the model poster boy of teen role models.
I think kids should skip school once in a while.
You
That's a
skip
very
school.
controversial opinion.
Yeah, but Bubs, you skip school like pretty much almost your entire quarter. Or maybe even your entire year.
There were a few times where I went like that, yes.
Yeah, you skipped more than once though, you see.
Yeah, but don't you think kids should skip school a couple of times just to, push their boundaries?
If they want to get in trouble for truancy, sure.
No, but babes, you gotta push boundaries a little bit as a kid.
No, Bubs, boundaries are not made to be broken, you see. There's a reason why there are rules for kids.
But you gotta have a little bit of fun.
That's why you would be a horrible father.
Oh.
Sure, I'll take care of it. You just skip the entire week. You just skip for the entire month if you'd like. I did that.
I would not let my kids do that only because I don't want to deal with them during that time.
Uh-huh.
But I think kids gotta break the rules once in a while.
No, Bubs, I think there's a reason why there are rules in place. You can't have kids running amok all the time. That's how kids get in trouble. You give them a little bit of leniency and they're just all over the place.
But you can make the argument that some rules are unnecessary, or at least not applicable all of the time.
I don't agree, Bubs.
Oh. Well, anyways.
I do not.
Yes.
I do not.
Well, good for you, babes.
Yes.
Jaylo.
Yes.
We had a good day yesterday.
Yes, we did.
And then we watched a movie that you and I had both seen before, but I actually remembered.
So, I didn't realize that I saw this movie until the middle of the movie because I remembered that there was this girl named Daisy that was trying to get into audition for this movie, but her idea of auditioning is to sleep her way to the top. Not only did she sleep with the director, she also slept with the cameraman,
actor,
the
writer. I love the end of the movie where she comes in and she's like, everybody, this is so-and-so. She's the most powerful lesbian.
Well, we're going to get there first. We're going to get there.
Okay. Do you want me to give the recap or do you want to?
I'm going to give a premise and then you can chime in.
Okay.
So basically the premise is Steve Martin is this director.
The movie's called Bowfinger.
The movie is called Bowfinger. Steve Martin is a director of B movies, producer. Excuse me.
Yes.
Are you let me talk now?
Go ahead.
He's a producer of B movies. I can't remember what the movie that he was going to make was supposed to be this alien movie, written by a guy.
It's written by his secretary / accountant. There's a scene in the beginning of the movie where he has his crew together and he says something to the effect of, and I told him if he writes movies as well as he does my taxes.
I was like, well then I don't even have to finish that sentences.
Yes.
Anyway, the movie was called Chubby Rain. Of all the names you could think of, Chubby Rain. And he said, that's a great script. And I'm like, okay, if you look at that, is it really a great script? Anyway, he was trying to get this guy, Jerry Renfro, to be the main actor.
be the producer.
Or a producer of the movie, but he wasn't able to do that.
He decides that it's going to be too complicated to get Jerry into the mix because when you work for a big studio, there's certain things you have to follow, like getting the actor's permission to be in the movie.
I thought I was going to continue on.
But you got some stuff wrong. Keep going.
Okay. Shall we?
Go ahead.
I thought I was giving up.
All right, go ahead.
Okay. So he decides that he wants the main actor to be Kit Ramsey, who is played by Eddie Murphy. Kind of a crazy guy. Sort of a...
Scientologist, but not really.
Yeah, there's this thing called Mindhead, which sounds like the Church of Scientology. And he goes there to do some, like, what do you call...
work on himself.
Work on himself, but he clearly has flown off the handle many times. And I don't think he has a grip on it. Anyway, that's what makes it funny. So later on in the movie, Steve Martin drives to his house. He finds out where he is. He wants him to sign something so that he could be in the script. Because he wants him to be in the script.
He never gets a signature, by the way.
He never gets a signature, but he does tell him, oh, by the way, I'm a part of Mindhead.
Eddie Murphy gives him a ride for like half a block and then throws him in the car. It says something to the effect of, it's people like you who give Mindhead a bad name.
Clearly, he's not centered.
No.
Okay. Or quote unquote, whatever you call it, centered. So anyway, he's talking to the people that are working for the movie. And he decides, okay, is this before Daisy comes in?
Yes.
Okay. And so he basically says, look, Kit Ramsey said yes. But actually he didn't say yes. Could you chime in, please?
Everybody's excited and they think this is going to be a huge movie because Kit Ramsey is like the #1 movie star in America. Steve Martin explains he wants to do this movie, but it's this new type of acting. He only wants to do one take, and he doesn't want to socialize with anybody else on the sets. Mm-hmm. We know this is a little bit unusual, but it's called like new wave acting or whatever.
Oh, yeah, I forgot what it's called.
Yes. So everybody's excited. He tells his cameraman, who is the only other person on the set that knows that Kit Ramsey isn't really supposed to star in this movie, that there's only 6 scenes where they need to shoot Kit. Mm-hmm. And they're going to figure out a way to find out where Kit is and shoot these scenes. Kit is going through this Mindhead therapy, and he keeps talking about, I'm Kit, keeping it together. I'm Kit, keeping it together. One point, the Mindhead representative says, what are some things we're not supposed to do? And one of them is, show it to the Laker girls.
He's like, no. It's like, you can't do that.
Right.
You have to keep it in the pants.
Right.
Keep it in the pants. There's one thing you can't do under any circumstances. I gotta show it to the Laker girls. I was like, no. You gotta, I thought it was gonna be something else.
It was great. Steve Martin starts auditioning actors. Heather Graham, who plays Daisy, is just off the bus from, I don't know, like Idaho or wherever.
Right.
She comes into the office and says, is this where I come to become a star?
Yeah.
She makes out with the head actor in the movie. She's hired immediately.
Yeah.
She sleeps with the actor.
Steve Martin.
No, first she sleeps with the actor in the movie.
Yes.
And she says, you know what? I love our scenes together, but I think if you got me into some scenes with Kit, it would really enhance our chemistry.
Right.
The actor explains, well, that's really the writer's job. So she goes, she sleeps with the writer, and he says, oh yeah, I wrote these scenes. I submitted it to Steve Martin. You know, he's the producer on this movie, so it's really his job.
Then she sleeps with Steve Martin.
She goes over to Steve Martin's house. They have dinner, and then they have sex, and he steals her credit card because he's basically out of money for the production.
And he's like, thank you, Daisy.
Yes. Around this time, they've been following Kit and shooting things where Heather Graham chases him outside of his house.
And Heather Graham develops this really weird accent.
Mm-hmm. Kit Ramsey believes in some weird stuff anyway. At one point, he's having lunch with his agent, who walks away for a minute. Christine Baranski, who plays Carol, I believe, goes up to him. She thinks this is a real movie. And she starts yelling at him, I know you're responsible for the space aliens, and this type of stuff. And he gets up and runs away.
And what about that one guy who's like, Kincaid?
Yes.
Kincaid.
That's a little bit later, I believe.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's really funny.
So, do you want to pick it back up, or do you want me to keep
No,
going?
I know. You just keep going.
Okay. Keep shooting the movie. Kit gets a little bit more crazy and a little bit more crazy. Finally, Steve Martin realizes that he has to hire a double to do some face shots because he can't get Eddie Murphy as Kit to be in all the movie. Eddie Murphy, in a lot of his films, does more than one character. And he does that again in this movie. I forgot the name.
I forgot his brother's name.
Yeah, they hire this guy who was like working at McDonald's to be Kit's basically stand-in. They have him run across the freeway, which I thought was funny. They're like, oh, these cars are all stunt cars. They're all professional. And after he does it the first time, they're like, okay, we're going to send you to Starbucks to get us some coffee.
Yes.
But first you got to do that scene again. They're hanging out one day, and Eddie Murphy, as the other brother, lets everybody know that his older brother is Kit Ramsey. And Steve Martin is a little taken aback by this. Like, we can't manipulate this man like this. This is a little bit wrong.
Yeah.
But he decides to do it anyway.
It hasn't stopped him.
Correct.
Yes.
They're getting near the close of everything. And they have to shoot their final scene with Kit Ramsey, where he saves the world from aliens.
Yes.
Except he doesn't know this. Right? Brings in Heather Graham and says, he's not going to want to get in the car. And she explains, oh, I already know that. And first you think that she's just really intelligent. She put the pieces together.
No, she's not.
It turns out that she slept with the cameraman, who's the only other person on the set who knew this, and blabbed her about it.
Right.
Which I thought was great, because in most movies they just would have had her be like super intelligent.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Clearly she isn't.
Right. They're getting the shot of Kit Ramsey. They want to get him to say this line. Was it like, got you suckers or something like that?
Gotcha suckers. And he's like, you're supposed to hold this thing. You're supposed to put your hands on this thing and you have to say, gotcha suckers.
Right before he can do that, there's helicopters. They land. Yep. It's representatives from Minehead. They realize what's going on and take Kit away. So, a couple days later, everybody's really mad at Steve Martin. Apparently, some footage was shot of Kit around town. So Steve Martin says, okay, let's just watch this. It'll be kind of fun. And Kit is doing some sports. He's chilling. He's hanging out. And at one point, he puts on a paper bag over his head, goes over to the Laker girls and exposes himself. And everybody starts cracking up.
And they start laughing, especially. Yeah.
So Steve Martin goes to Minehead, shows them this footage, and says, we only have one or two more scenes with Kit. I mean, if you could let this video get out to the public, or you could work with us for a couple of days. We release the movie and everything's good.
Yeah.
They get their movie. They have a big premiere. They show scenes from the movie. It's horrible. And then Steve Martin gets a job. I think you were right. He's a director and a producer of this movie.
That's right, he is.
Yeah, he does both tasks.
Okay.
And so I stand corrected. Because at the end of it, he directs Kit's brother in a kung fu film that's really bad. And I believe that's where the movie ends.
That was a fun movie.
I saw this film the day it was released. I went with my grandfather. And then I think on Sunday of that weekend, I saw it with a friend of mine.
Yeah.
And I might have taken an ex-girlfriend to watch it. I rented it on home video a couple of times. So I've seen it maybe 5 or 6 times over the years.
And I think I saw it once, and I may have seen it with my family, because it was like back in 1999.
Summer of 99 is when it came out.
I thought I saw it with a boyfriend, but I did not.
Oh.
Because that would have been somewhere in the early 2000s.
I'd give this film either a strong 7 or an 8. It's not my favorite movie, but it's really good.
I'll give it a strong 7.
Yeah.
For sure.
Now you've seen every movie that I know of that Steve Martin has collaborated with Frank Oz on.
So good.
And in the 3 films they've done together, they always have this interesting relationship with truth. Because in Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, Steve Martin's a con man.
Yep, he is.
In House Sitter, he's dating a woman who's
a con woman.
And he sort of gets wrapped up in that world and starts his own fictional reality, right?
Yeah.
And then there's this movie where he lies to everybody who works with him. And it's also about Hollywood, which is a very fake place.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to break down this film in particular soon, but what do you think Steve Martin and Frank Oz, over the course of these 3 films, teach us about honesty?
Maybe if you play your cards right, you might get what you want, but it's not always the best thing to do. I mean, some people are good at lying. I'm not at any point condoning lying at all. I'm not gonna sit here and say that, but some people are really good at lying and some people are not. But I would say that lying is not the best policy, but in some cases, I guess in these 3 movies, right?
Yeah.
In these 3 movies alone, the liar gets the liar either almost gets what he wants or gets what he wants.
He pretty much always gets what he wants.
Oh, well, wait, not in Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, right? He didn't get the girl.
But the goal is just to have sex with her.
Oh.
It wasn't to get into a relationship. And as he's about to leave, she comes in with another scam for them.
Oh, okay.
And you can make the argument in House Sitter that he wants Becky, but eventually he realizes that Gwen
that's right, Becky. Yeah, that's right.
Eventually he understands that Gwen is better suited for his personality.
Right, and Becky was somebody from his past.
Exactly.
Yeah, that could never happen between them.
She never cheated on him with Boomer.
Oh yeah, Boomer. That's right.
I love when these 2 guys collaborate on movies together.
So funny.
They're such a great comic team.
Yeah, they are.
Mm-hmm.
Frank Oz, I think, is a genius when it comes to these things. When it comes to directing movies.
He's super talented.
What About Bob was great.
Yep.
Did he also direct The Jerk?
No, that was Carl Reiner.
Oh, that's right. Because he was in that movie, right? Or he had a cameo.
He had a cameo as himself in the film.
That's right. Okay.
Yes, and I believe they worked together on a couple more movies.
So let's see. Frank Oz and Steve Martin were in House Sitter, this movie, and then what was the other one?
Dirty Rotten Scoundrels.
Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, all 3 great movies, really funny. I think they do well together. And
I believe they're all movies that when they were released, people liked them, but they kind of went unnoticed by most film goers, and over time have gained a reputation as being great movies.
I love how that happened where they're rediscovered again. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, I didn't think this was that great, but now I think it's really, really, really great.
Well, that leads me to another question.
Okay.
What do Steve Martin and Frank Oz teach us about the overlooked films that become classics? So it's great that people enjoy these films now, but it might have been even better if the audience went out in droves when they first came out, because it could have encouraged more movies like this, or them to collaborate even further.
Oh, I would agree. I would absolutely agree with you. I do not have any objections to that sentiment. Yeah.
Yes. But these are great films. So let's move on specifically and focus on Bowfinger.
Okay.
Let's start off on an odd note.
All right.
We already know that I really enjoy this film.
Yes.
So much of it would not be acceptable today.
No. I will say that when I saw it the first time, I didn't think much of it either.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was okay, but seeing it again now, it's even funnier than I remembered it.
What can we learn about how humor changes over time?
Well, just like I don't know, just like policies, they do change. What is and even like social norms in movies, right?
Mm-hmm.
What was risque back then is not risque today, or what is risque today is not risque back then.
Yes.
Right.
What does Carol teach us about artistry and being kind of like full of yourself?
Carol was
Christine Baranski.
Yeah, but she was Steve Martin's girlfriend, right?
It's not said. I think we can assume that these characters have had a long history together and that at some point have hooked up, maybe multiple times.
I don't know. Like I'm not sure how to answer that. What do you think?
To me, she teaches us that actors are a little bit too full of themselves.
Yeah.
Like, there's that brilliant scene where she says to him, I know Kid has his style, but it's very strange not to meet an actor that you're working with. He pulls her aside and he says, he's into this new form of acting, and he gives some fake name. She's like, oh. That speaks to me.
Yeah.
Artists have always confounded me because at one point, on one level, they're always trying to be original and think outside of the box. But on another level, you could just throw out some weird concept and say it's the way people do it.
Yeah.
And most artists will be so impressed that they'll just pretend like they know what you're talking about.
That's why I don't think that... I think... This is just my opinion. I could be completely wrong about it, but I honestly think that that's why you can't put artistry into a box, into one box. So you can't say all artists are weird, but you also can't say that all artists are completely normal either. So there are artists that are different than others, that are more sane than others. Some are not as out there, but I don't know. You can't say that they're all weird, and you can't say that they're all normal.
No, but let's be honest. Most artists are weird.
Bubs.
Like the vast majority.
Bubs.
I put myself in the category. I'm very weird.
Bubs.
But I know it.
Bubs.
What?
Are you trying to contradict what I'm saying?
No, I'm just trying to present an alternative viewpoint.
I already heard it.
Okay. Enough of you.
No, Bubs, I was just trying to make a point. I wasn't,
Okay. Fair enough.
Thank you.
Yes, babes. What does Steve Martin teach us about holding it together?
He didn't hold it together.
But he did make it work at the end.
He made it work, but on a very, very thin thread. It was basically hanging by a string. Okay. But he made it work. Through Mindhead and the actors that were shooting the scenes with Kit, even though he didn't know they were shooting him.
Yes.
That's pretty funny. I mean, that's... Can you imagine if there was an actual movie out there that was filmed the same way that it was filmed in Bowfinger? That'd
be weird and cool.
Well, remember what Kit's like? I want to make a movie, not a film. I don't know. Isn't it the same thing?
No, the idea is films are a little bit more upscale, and movies are more like action pictures or low budgets. Fair.
Okay. All right. So yeah, it was hanging by a string, but he was able to put it together, as weird as it was.
Where do you think his character is today? Did he become success, or was this his one shot and everything else he made afterwards?
I kind of think it's his one shot, and he's working at the same McDonald's as Kit's brother.
You might be right.
Or maybe the McDonald's across the street from that one. Or maybe he's working at Starbucks.
Yes.
While in real life, Steve Martin is super successful.
But his character
may not be.
What does Kit's brother teach us about living in the shadow of somebody who's more successful?
I think that's the quintessential type of sibling that lives in the shadows of their famous sibling, and they never seem to get out of it. If that makes any sense.
I want you to go a little bit deeper.
All right.
What do you think when Kit's brother goes to sleep at night?
Yeah.
Do you think that he can be happy with his life, or do you think that he's secretly always comparing himself to Kit?
I kind of think he probably is secretly comparing himself to Kit, and he just doesn't know how to become as successful as he is.
Why do you think Kit had so much luck in the business? And his brother, when we first meet him, he tells Steve Martin, running errands in this business would be a step up for me.
Yeah. Maybe, I don't know much, we don't know much about Kit's background. I mean, he seems like pretty cray-cray, but maybe his idea is, that he had high expectations. Or maybe they were high and he just got crazy in the head because he got super famous.
Do you think that Kit loves his brother, or
no? It's possible he does, or maybe he just thinks that his brother's an afterthought because he's not really a success.
Where do you think Kit is today?
I think he's studying Scientology.
AKA Mindhead.
AKA Mindhead, but he can't seem to shake off his craziness. He might actually be in a mental institution.
That's a possibility.
I don't think his brother's in a mental institution. I think Kit is.
But you think his brother is probably like the manager at McDonald's by now?
It's possible. Yes.
Yes.
Or maybe he decides to take some Mindhead classes while his brother is in a mental institution.
That's possible.
I don't know.
Tell me your thoughts on Daisy.
Daisy, not very smart. All she's good for is her bedroom skills, if I could say that.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, she literally is like the quintessential casting couch person, right? If I can get my way through this, if I can sleep my way to the top. And that she did.
I loved her character, though, because
it was funny, though.
I think it's so representative of so many actresses in Hollywood.
I mean, they're lucky if they, actresses are, would be considered fortunate if they were able to skip the casting couch.
Most, I think, have to sleep with a couple people to move ahead.
That's why Hollywood is such a sleazy place.
But we, as the audience, keep supporting it.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely wasn't like it was 20 years ago or even 30 years ago, but, that's true.
Yeah, it was a lot worse back then, I'm assuming.
No, I'm saying that it was different back than it is today.
Right, there was more people just sleeping around to get roles.
That's not what I'm saying.
What are you saying?
I'm just saying it just seems more sleazier today. I don't know.
Oh, that's interesting. I have the opposite opinion.
Really?
Well, first of all, I think Hollywood is always going to be sleazy to some extent, but I think it was probably a lot worse back in the day than it is now.
Really?
Yes.
Why do you think that?
I just think that there was a more emphasis on there's not cameras watching us 24/7.
And now there are.
Right, so people could get away with more stuff.
So you think it's because our technology is advanced, now people can't get away with just anything?
I think they can, but they have to be a little bit more secretive about it. Where back in the day, it was a lot more open.
Well, I mean, you could be right. I mean, I could be completely wrong. But that hasn't also stopped people from doing anything around the cameras.
What do you mean?
Well, it hasn't stopped any, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how it is in Hollywood standards, but, even though people have been caught doing something, they'll still do it in front of a camera.
Well, don't get me wrong. I think Hollywood is always going to be pretty sleazy, but I think it's probably less so now than it used to be.
I don't know. Well, you could be right, or I could be wrong, or whatever. I don't know.
Yes.
Anyway, I would never try out for Hollywood. I'm not as starstruck as I was before.
What I do wonder, babes, is how many A-list actresses have slept their way to the top. Like, I'm sure they're all talented, right? To some extent.
It could be just a mixed bag. Some people refuse to, and other people have done it to get ahead.
Yeah, but you know that there's probably some A-list actresses out today who got a part in a major motion picture when they were younger because they were willing to sleep with somebody.
But would any of them admit it?
Of course not.
No. Some probably have, but I don't think the majority of them would.
No.
So we wouldn't really know.
But I'm just saying it's fun to speculate about.
It's possible that a lot of them have.
I'm assuming a lot have.
It could have been, or it could just be a mixed bag.
I don't think everybody has, but I think a lot probably did to get ahead.
What about men?
What about men? There's probably some men who've...
Do you think men have?
I think, yeah, absolutely. I think more with women, but it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, for sure, and more with women.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Wait.
Back to the movie, babes.
Yes.
What does Edward Murphy...
Eddie Murphy.
Murphy.
Edward Murphy.
And Stephen Martin. But specifically Edward Murphy.
Why are you calling him Edward?
Because that's his birth name, isn't it?
I don't know.
Okay.
It could be Edwin.
What does Edward Murphy as Kit Ramsey teach us about having demons?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I know that people have said that there are demons in the world, but they liken these demons to things.
I mean, like metaphorical demons, not that he actually communicates with them.
Yeah, I know. Metaphorical demons, like...
Well, people say, oh, their demons are going to meet them, are going to defeat them, but what they're really trying to say is their bad habits.
Yeah.
Their destructive side.
Right. Well, like I said earlier, he has not... Even if he's taking Mindhead classes, he hasn't found a way to keep it together.
Even though he's Kit.
Keep it together. He cannot keep it together. He's just completely flying off the handle. He's dropping Steve Martin off a block away from Mindhead.
From his house.
I'm sorry, a block away from his house. Expecting him to walk all the way to Mindhead. So, I mean...
It's people like you who give Mindhead a bad name.
Oh my goodness.
Keep going, babes.
Yeah, he's a bit cray-cray.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know if all the Mindhead therapy in the world is going to help him with his problems.
It might even make them worse.
Yes, it might make them worse. I think in this case, because Kit Ramsey is a fictional character, then he needs to go to fictional therapy.
I've seen this movie. Like I said, 5 or 6 times, but it was all in the late 90s, early 2000s. And I knew what Scientology was.
Yeah.
But the basic commercial level, this actor is a Scientologist and he's super successful.
Right.
But it was before I had visited any Scientology centers.
That's crazy that you visited one.
I did, and I almost got a job there, but that's a whole different story.
I'm really glad you didn't, Bug.
Right. But because of that, I knew that this was poking fun at Hollywood, the whole Mindhead thing.
Yes.
But I didn't really put it together at the time that it was about Scientology. How ballsy do you think that was of Steve Martin and Frank Oz to put that in the movie?
Well, it's possible that they weren't even going that route.
Oh, that's definitely...
Do you think so?
I didn't get it at the time, obviously, but that's definitely a parody of Scientology.
And, are you sure it was Scientology, or is it was it because of the mindfulness movement?
No, it's babes. It's Scientology.
No. I want to know why you think that, though.
The therapy, they hook him up to a machine.
Oh.
At one point, they go to a guy and they say he's level 6.
Oh.
In Mindhead.
Oh, I see. Okay, I get it. Okay, because I didn't catch that.
Yes.
I know you said it was. I know you mentioned Scientology, but I didn't understand why. Okay. Yeah, that was definitely creative and very risky to do.
Do you think it's... listen, it obviously didn't ruin their careers, but do you think it hurt it?
No. Well, think about it, though. Years later, another actress comes out and completely exposes Scientology for what it is.
Right, and they only did it metaphorically. But it was back when the church was a lot more powerful. And I know that Steve Martin has had a lot of success both before and after this film, but who knows on the opportunities he missed out on just for being associated with this movie.
I don't know that he did. It did ruin his career. No.
Ruin his career is a strong term. Hurt his career, though.
I don't know that it did. I don't know. And a lot of people didn't know much about a lot of people didn't know about the doctrine of Scientology. They didn't know about the ins and outs of it and what they require. So,
but we can assume that when this movie came out, people in the know went to see it and got what Steve Martin and Frank Oz were trying to do.
I don't know. I think it's a little too. I think it's speculation, but I don't know if that's true.
I think it's incredibly ballsy. And it's something that you wouldn't even pick up on, that this was a risk for them to do, unless you knew more about Scientology, which most people didn't when the film came out.
Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Yes. Maybe there's a reason you never saw Steve Martin in Mission Impossible 3. Of course, it would have helped if he was in Mission Impossible 1 too.
He wasn't in any of the movies.
Yes.
That's pretty funny.
Thank you, babes. Jaylo.
Yes.
Is there anything you want to ask me about this movie?
I don't think so. I mean, I think we've answered as many questions that we could of this movie. So I don't have anything.
Do you think that you will remember seeing it now?
Of course. It just didn't click in my mind until I heard when you were explaining about Daisy and things that she was doing, and I'm like, wait a minute, I did see that. Yeah. So it clicked in my head finally. I didn't figure it out until towards the middle of the movie. But that happened. Sometimes I've watched movies and I didn't remember the name of the movie or for whatever reason for a long time, and then I see it again and I'm like, wait a minute, I did see this.
Yeah. There's a funny scene that I forgot to mention.
Yes.
It's Eddie Murphy when he's playing the less successful brother.
Yes.
And Steve Martin goes to talk to him. He explains that he just had sex with Heather Graham.
Yeah,
I like that scene. That was a great scene.
And then he starts laughing, right?
Yes.
And he's like, I'm going to be a star. So funny.
Would you recommend this movie to other people?
Yes, I would. It's even funnier. 21 years later.
It holds up very well.
Yes.
And in some ways, I agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
It is funnier now.
It is. And I didn't even realize it until after I watched it with you. And I'm like, wait a minute, this is really funny. It's great. And I like a lot of Steve Martin movies and Frank Oz movies too. So.
Oh my God, they're incredible. Edward Murphy's incredible.
Edward Murphy, it's Eddie.
Edward is incredible.
Edward.
All of them have made bad movies before.
Yes.
But when they're on their A game, they can come up with some incredible stuff.
Yes, they can.
Yeah. I would love to see Steve Martin and Eddie Murphy do another movie together, but
they should be in another Shrek.
Yeah, but Steve Martin's getting older now. Who knows how many more movies he's gonna make?
He is getting older. He's I think he's pushing 80 or something.
I don't know, but you might be right. I'm guessing he's around 75.
That's so cool that he was. Yeah, you're right. I think you're right.
Yeah.
That's so cool that he was able to be even successful in the music world with his banjo.
He's super talented. You still haven't read Born Standing Up.
No, that has to be funny.
Oh, that's great. But I do wonder if he's going to make any more movies.
Yeah.
But time will tell, babes.
Time will tell.
Yes.
Yes.
So, Bowfinger, we recommend it.
Yes.
We saw another movie that I'm going to go out on a limb and say we both really like.
I'm going to let you tell the beginning parts of it because there's some parts that I did miss. I was getting really tired and I missed some parts of it.
This film is called Jaylo Boulevard.
No, it's called Sunset Boulevard.
Oh.
Sunset Boulevard. Starring William Holden. Is that right?
Yes.
William Holden, who also starred in Network. Yes.
And a bunch of other movies.
Yes. This is a young Wilden Holt.
Gloria Swanson as
Norma Desmond.
So the name of this movie is Jaylo Desmond.
No, it's not.
It's Sunset Boulevard.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
You would, yeah. All right, let me give it the plot.
Yes.
Starts off, William Holden is dead, but he's his spirit is reflecting back on what led to his murder.
Mm-hmm.
So we get a flashback. He is a writer who has struggled in Hollywood.
Yes.
To the point where these guys come over and threaten to take his car. William Holden has hidden the vehicle, goes out the next day to try to get work.
Mm-hmm.
Stops by Paramount. An executive there is kind of friendly with him. They're talking about a possible movie. And they call in the secretary, whose name is...
I cannot remember.
She comes up later in the movie.
Betty Schaefer?
Betty Schaefer.
Yes, Betty Schaefer, thank you.
Who explains that the movie script was not that good before she knows that William Holden was the writer of it. Okay?
Yes.
William Holden goes off. The guys who won his car start chasing him. He sees a garage that is almost empty, except it has one car from the early 1930s in it.
Yes.
Drives in, gets out of the car. A butler comes and brings him into the house.
Mm-hmm.
And your girl, Jaylo Desmond.
Norma Desmond. By the way, his name in the movie, William Holden's name in the movie is Joe Gillis.
Joe Gillis.
Yes.
Gillis and Desmond are talking, and Desmond thinks he's there to help bury her pet monkey.
Yes.
Joe goes downstairs. Norma finds out that he's a writer, and she's been working on a script about her life.
Mm-hmm.
She gives it to him to read, and we get the sense that it's not that good.
Yeah.
She wants him to help with the script and says, I'll hire you. Just stay here for a little while. Work on this with me. He goes to sleep. He wakes up. All of his items are in the room. And Joe is freaked out by this, as most people would be.
Yep, they're all in the room.
He finds out that the butler, Max, went out to get all this material.
Yep.
So now Joe has moved in, staying at the house, getting all these gifts because Norma's super rich. She invested well.
Yes, she did.
And he realizes, though, that she lives in the past. Mm-hmm. Whenever they watch movies, it's always her old silent films because she got her initial fortune from acting early on in movies.
Yes, she did. But she liked looking at herself.
All the stories are about people like Rudolph Valentino,
mm-hmm.
who died decades before this movie was made.
Yep.
And old Hollywood. Mm-hmm. It's kind of fun but weird at first, but then it just gets more and more bizarre.
Yeah.
One point, she throws this party, and Joe just assumes that it's going to be her and her old lady friends.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just her.
Yep.
Right? And this band.
It's odd. It's very strange. It's like this... You would think that... And the band was good, too. Mm-hmm. But you would think, well, where are the other people?
He gets freaked out, leaves. It's New Year's Eve. He goes to the party and runs into your girl.
Betty Schaefer.
Who is dating his man, Art. Artie.
Yes.
Who likes to party.
Right.
She says, I felt a little bit guilty, Joe, after the way I treated you. So I went back and I read a lot of your old stuff. Most of it sucked. But there's a short story that is pretty bad. However, there are some interesting things in it. Would you like to work with me on making this into a viable script? Mm-hmm. But he makes a phone call. Max answers the phone and says that Norma Desmond is dying because she slit her wrist after he left.
Yes.
So Joe runs back to Norma.
And Norma's got her hand bandaged.
And everything.
And she looks pretty pitiful.
Yep. He stays there. And, she keeps saying, I'm going to make a comeback. I'm going to be big again.
And she admits that, how she feels about him.
Yep.
If he didn't know
Which we already knew.
We already knew that, but if you didn't know already.
Yes.
So
if
they
it
start
wasn't
this
completely obvious. So they start a relationship, and she's like, I'm going to be big again. You just watch, Joe.
Is it okay if my...
yes.
sitting like this? Okay.
Yeah, your legs are on my leg. That's fine, babes.
Okay.
And lo and behold, Paramount Pictures begins calling their place.
Mm-hmm.
Cecil B. DeMille was one of the top guys at Paramount. He was also the director who helped Norma become famous.
Yeah, and we speculate that that might have been the real person in the movie.
I believe it was the real Cecil B. DeMille.
I think you might be right. Yeah.
In any event, she's like, "I told you, Joe. They're calling. They want me. Yes. The script is going to be." That was the last one. Yeah. The script is going to be huge. I'm going to be back on top again. Watch. We're going to go down to the studio, and I'm going to take Hollywood. Mm-hmm. One day, they go down to the studio. The guard doesn't want to let Norma in. Right. And there is this old guard who you can tell had been there since the studio first started. He recognizes Norma, says, okay, you can go in. Mr. DeMille is shooting on lot 18. Mm-hmm. And he calls lot 18, so they know she's coming. She gets there. Mm-hmm. One of Cecil B. DeMille greets her, lets her sit down, and one of the old cameramen recognizes her and puts a light on her face. And a bunch of people from the old days just make a commotion about her.
Like Norma Desmond, and they start crowding around her, and they're like, "Oh, nice to see you."
And Cecil B. DeMille's like, "Why does she say that my office keeps calling her?" Mm-hmm. Reaches out to his assistant and finds out that they don't want her. They want to rent her old car because it would look cool in some movies.
Right.
And he's a little bit embarrassed by this.
Yeah.
So instead of telling her the truth, he says, well, maybe we'll work together, but I got a lot of other projects. But it was great seeing you, Norma, and stay in touch.
Yeah.
She leaves thinking she's still the shit. She comes home. Things keep going more and more bizarre with Joe, who starts sneaking out at night and working on the script with your girl.
Betty Schaefer.
Eventually, Betty starts falling in love with Joe.
Yes. And
things get a little weird. We find out that Norma has been calling Betty's place.
That was odd.
Yes.
We
also discover that her butler, Max, was
her first husband
and used to direct her in silent movies.
It's very strange.
Yes. And the actor who played the butler did direct Gloria Swanson in early movies.
Oh, that's funny.
Yes.
I mean, he really did direct her.
Mm-hmm. In any event.
Yes.
This all comes to a head. Schaefer comes over to the house. William Holden gives a speech. She leaves.
Yes.
Joe explains they don't really want you back.
Yep.
They're just being kind to you. All they wanted was a car. She freaks out and shoots him.
And I have to say,
go ahead.
She's trying to leave.
Yes.
And she's freaking out, saying, "No, Joe, I can't spend my life without you." And he's basically like, "Nope, sorry, I'm gonna go." She
shoots him. He dies. She kind of was on the edge of insanity before this, and goes even more crazy.
And by the way, he ends up in the pool.
Yes. Which isn't really that important to the script, but yes.
Well, he mentions it in the beginning of the movie. Okay.
Then they take her down through the cameras, and she uses that line, Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up, which is a famous movie line. But they always misquote it and say, I'm ready for my close-up, Mr. DeMille.
Oh, okay.
But anyways.
Wow.
And they take her out, and the movie ends.
But yeah, she's insane.
Yes.
She's literally, but that was such a good movie.
That's a really good movie, and it's funnier than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, there were some really funny cracks in there.
Mm-hmm. I expected to like it just because so many people have said it's great.
Yes, it is. It was really good.
But I enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was a good movie.
Yes, it was a thriller.
Mm-hmm.
It really was. It was a psychological thriller, and there was some funny stuff in there too.
Yes.
Yes.
What can we learn from Miss Desmond about living in the past?
That you can't live in the past. And remember when they were all when she was getting like treatments for her face,
yes,
and she was getting all these things.
This is after she goes to Paramount.
Right.
And she thinks they're going to make the movie,
and she wants to be youthful again, and she really thinks that if she changes her image, and people are she's gonna get casting calls, which in the end she gets what she wants. But how at what great length will she go to get fame and love and attention? Clearly, this lady is mad.
Do you think Norma regrets leaving the silver screen so early?
Yes, I do think so.
And she just hasn't admitted it to herself.
Yes, I do think she regrets it.
What does Max teach us about love?
It sounds like he still loved Norma, even though they got divorced, and he ends up in her life again. Mm-hmm. Even though she is madly in love with Joe. And I mean that, madly in love with Joe.
Yes.
It seems like despite what happened with him and Norma and their divorce, he was still willing to stick with her, even if she did shoot Joe.
He loved her unconditionally.
He did love her, yeah. He did.
There's a great scene where Max is explaining to Joe, Norma Desmond, you're too young to remember, but she used to be like one of the biggest stars in the world.
Yeah, because Joe was like several years younger than her.
I'd say about 20.
Wow. So she must have been in like her 50s or something. At
50. One point, he says there's nothing wrong with being 50, but
as long as you don't believe that you're 25 or whatever.
Yeah, and don't live in the past.
I was like, there's nothing wrong with being 50 as long as you don't live like you're 25. And I thought that was great. Yes. She has not, I think it's safe to say that she was not comfortable in her skin when she reached middle age.
Here's a question for you, babe.
Yes.
Assuming I die before you do.
Okay.
Do you think there'll ever be a time where you just hang out in your apartment and you invite people over to listen to our old podcasts?
That would be weird. I think I would be the one listening to it by myself.
But you wouldn't have guests over and just...
No.
This was when I was a podcast queen of Portland.
No, because that was private between us. And I think that's why I'm very trepidatious in letting people into this world.
Yes.
If that makes sense. Because a lot of the stuff that we talk about is about us. And I kind of like to keep it that way.
Oh.
In some respects. Does that make sense?
I hear you.
Yeah. I just think that there are some things that should be left private and sacred.
Oh. And
if you died before me, if we ended up marrying each other and you leave me before I leave you or something, I would listen to it by myself and grieve like that.
Oh, good.
I don't even know if I could listen to it right away. Because it would hurt so much.
I will tell you this. If I die, I want you to immediately download everything from the internet and put it on your hard drive so you have a copy of it.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes. But back to the movie.
Oh, wow.
Has this film changed how you view silent movie stars?
Well, being that I don't know about the silent movie world, no.
Okay.
I think it makes me wonder about the women who want to still live in the past. Like there are women that are still acting today that are trying to keep their young image alive. Mm-hmm. Like let's give a good example. Susan Lucci.
I was actually thinking of Jennifer Lopez, but keep going.
Okay. Actually, I think Jennifer Lopez is a good example, to tell you the truth.
Yes.
You know, she lives, I think she's in her 50s now, so she lives like she looks like she's probably in her 30s. Or maybe even...
I'd say late 30s. Yeah.
Late 30s, close to 40s, right? So she still looks good. I think she's able to maintain it, and that's good, but I wonder, like, what great lengths would you go to keep your young image instead of caring for yourself naturally and getting the proper amount of nutrition and vitamins and sleep?
I just have this image of the other Jaylo.
Yeah.
having guests over to her house in maybe 15 years, having them sit down and watch old recordings of her ass.
Look at my butt over the years.
Yes.
Look at this.
Oh, look, this is when I met Jim Carrey and he's teaching me how to talk out of it.
This is what happened when I moved people into it.
Yes.
No, I'm just kidding. You made a joke about that.
Yes. So big it has its own economy.
No, I mean, but some women just don't grow out of it. And it's like, well, what length would you be willing to do where all the amount of facelifts and all the amount of chemical peels. It sounds painful, actually. What'd you do to keep your young image when you're going to eventually leave this world?
What does Norma Desmond teach us about having success early on in life?
Well, do we know why she left early?
We don't know.
Okay.
I'm assuming either one of two things happened. Sound came into the mix and people didn't like her speaking voice, so they kind of put her in bad movies, or she married somebody after Max who was more successful and basically didn't want her to continue in Hollywood as an actress.
Right.
But I don't know for sure.
I think that, I don't know. Younger people are flighty sometimes, right? They can't decide what they want. Mm-hmm. So maybe at that time in her life, she didn't know what she wanted. Maybe she wanted to just marry rich and have the husband take care of her, or what have you. We don't, maybe she inherited all this money.
She did well back in her day.
Yeah.
But we get the sense that she married somebody who was more successful than her. Because at one point she talks about how I own 3 streets in Hollywood. I have like one of the biggest oil refineries in California.
How many husbands did she marry?
3.
3, okay, 3.
And it could have also been Max who wanted her to quit the business. Like, there's just so much left out, which is kind of a good thing.
Yeah, so, I mean, we don't know what happened, but I think, I kind of wonder what it would have been like if she would have stayed in the film industry. Silent or not.
Yeah. I know that a lot of actors felt compelled to leave the industry after sound came into the mix.
Right. They didn't think that they were going to be hireable.
Or Hollywood felt that way.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Do you think then that it's typically a bad thing to become successful early on?
I don't know, not necessarily. I mean, it depends on I think it just depends on how you handle it. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
Silent movies may have been the rage back then, but if she would have held on for a little bit longer, she may have been marketable to people that wanted movies with sound in it. And I don't think she has a horrible voice. She does sound old, though. Nice. She does sound much older, but
yes,
she could have used her voice for good things. Yes. So I think she could have held on longer and kept her dream alive. And then just worked until she couldn't work anymore.
Is there any questions you want to ask me about the movie?
Okay. What do you think of Joe Gillis and Norma Desmond's relationship? Because clearly, I believe that it was one-sided. Norma was more invested than Joe was.
Absolutely. She's his sugar mama.
Absolutely.
Joe wouldn't be with Norma unless he was getting to live in a big house, nice clothes, and, all that good stuff.
I mean, he was just basically humoring her, honestly.
Yeah. I would have liked it if he would have left with the jewelry and clothes, but he died anyways.
He did die. He didn't leave. So what about Betty Schaefer? What do you think about her?
Betty Schaefer, to me, is a great example of the American story. She has a family who has worked in the film industry for what she says is 3 generations. So that's going way back into silent films since this movie came out in 1950. She wanted to become an actress. She was kept out of it for several reasons. And so she has to become a secretary and a script reader.
Right.
And it's not the glamorous life of being in front of the camera. Mm-hmm. But she works at it. She finally finds a writer who his material really doesn't respond to her, but she finds something that she can resonate with and decides that she's willing to put in the extra hours after work to work on a script that she could sell and get her foot in the door for real.
Okay.
I think she demonstrates... It's kind of interesting because Joe and her are a duality. Joe demonstrates just like living off of somebody else and not really doing the work and just kind of showing up when he needs to. And Betty, to me, represents somebody who shows up day in and day out, regardless of how successful they are, but who is always striving to make something out of themselves. As opposed to Joe, who just wants to become successful and has some natural talents, but doesn't put as much effort into it as he could. Because while he does go to work with Betty at night, it takes a little bit of tempting. For a while, he's just happy being a kept man.
Yes.
You know.
I would agree with you on that. Yeah.
Betty, to me, is, in some ways, the hero of this movie. Because she's more interested in doing the work and becoming successful from her own talents than just depending on somebody else.
Absolutely. Yeah. What did you think about when he, did you think that, Joe was doing her a favor by letting her go and be with Artie?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because he showed her that he's living this life that looks great on the outside.
It's not going to be great for her.
It's a gilded cage.
Yes.
And she could never be part of that. It's not like Norma is... Well, maybe she would have, but...
Norma wouldn't let that happen.
I doubt Norma would say, okay, Betty, come and live with us and Joe can see you when I'm asleep. Something tells me that would not fly.
No, it wouldn't fly. No, absolutely not. I think you're right about that. Mm-hmm. Yes. So that's good. I didn't think of it that way, but I think I agree with you. Yes. I was surprised that he let her go just because remember when she told him that she was falling in love with him and then he embraces her.
Yep.
So I thought maybe they were going to, that she was going to call off the wedding. But I'm glad that I am glad that he let her go. And said, look, you're going to marry Artie. You know, go and make something of your life, but this life is not going to be the life for you. Mm-hmm. But I wonder what was it about Joe that Norma had to hold on to because she already was married 3 times. She could have easily gotten somebody else, or maybe.
Oh, I know exactly what it is.
What is it?
Norma is a performer. Mm-hmm. And to kind of show how old-fashioned she is, there's that one scene where she's performing as Charlie Chaplin.
Oh, yeah.
Which is very bizarre.
That is hilarious.
But she likes attention. She's like all performers. She's an attention whore. And she sees this young man who... You gotta remember, Norma knew the film industry. Mm-hmm. What it was like in the... probably mid to late 20s, but she doesn't know the film industry of 1950. Mm-hmm. So to see some guy who has a few credits to his name, even if they're low budget movies, to her, that means that somebody who is still relevant might have some interest in her. And so she sees an audience who is relevant, who could help her get back on stage. And that's why she's so attracted to Joe.
I think you're right about that. Mm-hmm. Just because he has a few credits to his name, then she can mold him into what she wants him to be.
Well, he could help her come back.
Yeah.
In her mind.
Right.
And in a sense, he does.
And in the midst of all that, she gets a cub.
A cub?
Cougars and cubs.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Very true, babes.
Cougars. She is the ultimate cougar.
Cougar. Yes, she is.
Yes.
Is there any other questions or things you want to say about the movie?
No, I would definitely recommend it. It's really good. Really makes you think.
I'd give it a strong 8.
I would too.
Yes.
Certainly. I'd definitely give it an 8.
Yes. I think we did a good job of talking about it.
Yeah, we gotta talk about the 2 Alfred Hitchcock episodes we saw.
Oh yeah, I was confused by
I was
that, to
too.
be honest.
I was very confused.
Do you want to give the recap of the first episode, or would you like me to?
Why don't I start with doing an introduction of this?
Go ahead.
So, Lyle Endicott has been fired by, I don't know if he was related to this guy.
I think the person was just the guy who ran this museum.
Okay, I'm sorry. So he was fired, and his girlfriend
Is a secretary.
is a secretary, Ruby. She says, "I can't believe you. They just fired you?" And he's like, "Yes, they fired me." And Martha Cheney, she worked for the museum as well, right? Correct?
We get the sense that she's donated money. And
She's a donor, yeah.
Yeah, she's very well respected.
And so he decides, hey, I want to take care of Martha. Somehow he finds out about her vase.
It's known within the museum because everybody has wanted that vase for a long, long time.
Yes.
It was passed down to her from her father.
And he has this idea that, well, hey, I want to take care of her so that I can find a way to get rid of her and get her vase. You chime in, please.
He starts working for her and slowly begins to drive people out of her life, like her maid who has worked there for 20-something years.
Uh-huh.
He has his girlfriend come in as the new maid,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
At one point, what's her homegirl's name, Martha? The old lady?
Martha. Mrs. Cheney.
Miss Cheney passes a letter on to his girl.
Ruby.
About how, hey, this is what I want. Take care of this for me.
I need to get out of the house.
Yep. Ruby gives the letter to her boyfriend.
Yes.
And he tears it up in front of Martha.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, and I didn't catch that part until he finally, because he's making her believe that she's absolutely crazy.
Exactly.
Yes.
He goes to Ruby's house and is like, I talked to somebody. We're going to get $45,000. She says, this is wrong. You're torturing this lady.
And I'm tired of it.
She answers the phone as he's about to leave, and it's her boss, and she says, go over to Martha's place. Her man comes over, slaps her in the face, goes to the house, and Martha's there, and she's like, I'm an old lady. And there's these vases on the shelf.
And she's saying, don't even think about asking me to tell you which vase is which, because, I'm an old delusional woman.
Then the episode just kind of ends.
That was weird.
I enjoyed this up until the ending.
I did too, because I would have thought that maybe he would have taken her out.
Yes.
Or somebody would have reached her before he could take her out.
The ending was just confusing. I would say that's my complaint with both these episodes.
I would agree. I would really agree. The other one is even more bizarre.
And it stars Alfred Hitchcock's daughter.
Absolutely, and she was good.
Do you want to?
So this lady's name is Diana Winthrop. She goes to a hotel with her mother, trying to get her settled in. She's very, very sick. They have their bags taken up to room 342. Diana, before she leaves the hotel, she talks to the doctor and says, I really need this medicine to... Well, okay, I think the doctor was talking to her about the medicine, and he says, okay, you have to go to my wife because she has the medicine for you.
Correct.
And I have a carriage that will take you there and back. So really, she didn't know where she was going. We don't see her riding in the carriage, but she goes to his house, and it takes her like several hours to get this to her. We don't know why, but it takes her several hours. She finally gets the medicine. She goes back to the hotel and says, excuse me, my name is Diana Winthrop. I need my key to go to room 342. And at that moment, the person at the desk says,
somebody's staying in that room.
Somebody's staying in that room. It's Mr. Duchesne. We don't recognize you on our list. And I said, no, well, you can't say that because my mother is really sick, and I went to to get the medicine, and you can even ask the doctor. And it's like, nope, sorry, someone took it over. Go on, please.
She doesn't believe this and eventually goes to what we believe are the authorities.
Yep.
And she convinces one guy, okay, me and my mom traveled here, and I can't just go from France to London without my mom. I'm not going to leave her here.
Mm-hmm.
The guy agrees to investigate. They go to the hotel and get to go into room 342. It's completely rearranged. She told the officer how things looked before they went in there.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make any sense. She gets an idea. They're back downstairs and she says, okay, I have the money. I'm going to pay for room 342 for the night. Like, we don't know if that's a good idea.
You can sleep in a different room.
Yeah, we have somebody else here who's reserved that room. And she says, well, what room would you give me? And they're like, a bigger room. And she says, well, give that dude a bigger room. I'm staying in room 342. The cop is still there. And I know they don't call them cops, but bear with me. I'm not that bright.
Yeah, I don't know what they're called.
They go back to the room. She touches the wall and peels off
the wallpaper. Well, she touches the wallpaper and she's like, look.
Yeah, she peels it off the wallpaper.
Look, touch it. It's not even dry yet.
She peels it off and it's the same type of wallpaper underneath the first layer that she described to the cop. They sit her down and explain that her mom died of the bubonic plague.
And they transferred her somewhere else, yes. And they were also saying that she can't take her home.
Yeah, because of the plague.
That's weird. Yeah, it is weird.
It's a good episode. It comes back to the same thing. I would have liked these stories to be a little bit longer and explain slightly better the endings.
They were not the same episode though, right?
No, but I'm saying, babes, but it's a complaint I have about both of them that we watched the other day.
I would agree, and I kind of wonder what was going through Alfred Hitchcock's mind. Like, do we want people to know everything, or do we want to just keep it to interpretation?
You also have to remember, he did not direct most of the episodes of Alfred Hitchcock Presents.
Really?
I think he did like 3 or 4 a season, and the rest were assigned to different directors, and he was just the host of the program.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay, I did not know that.
I don't know if he directed either. He directed some of them, but most of them were directed by other people.
Okay.
And I'm not in his head. Let the man rest in peace.
Yes.
But it does make me wonder if he just did the show for money, or if he thought it would be kind of cool for his fans to watch him on TV.
I don't know. I like him anyway.
He's great.
But by what we've seen, and I think his sense of humor is like spot on.
His intros and outros to the show, I think, still hold up and are really good.
Yes. Yes. And some weird things happen in the in the beginning of the show, where he drops something, or he writes a map, draws a map of the U.S., and there's a weather girl standing next to him.
That was an older episode, but I hear what you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean he's got a great sense of humor.
I want to ask you, what do you think it was like for Mr. Hitchcock when he would go in to film his, portion of the show for the week, and he hadn't directed the episode, and he sees it, and it's really bad?
I don't know, because, maybe he's like, oh, I should have done this, because I don't know if this guy is a perfectionist or what have you, but he made some great stuff. Mm-hmm. He directed some great stuff. So I wonder if he's hard on himself, or he's like, nah, well, I know this needs improving, but we can do it again.
I'm sure he's a perfectionist.
Yeah.
Listen, I never knew the man, but based on his work, you could tell that he put I assume that he put a lot of hard work into his work.
Oh, yeah.
And having said that, I know that a lot of filmmakers from that era thought of television as like a quick buck and kind of beneath them.
Oh, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Because the medium hadn't been proven. Mm-hmm. They didn't know that the Alfred Hitchcock Presents program was going to be watched 60 years later. They thought it was just going to be watched that night and maybe once or twice afterwards.
Right, but they didn't know that, how many generations after would watch it. Mm-hmm. And that was in that series came out in when?
I don't know the exact time. I want to say late 50s.
Yeah, okay. And before I watched some of them, I didn't know. I thought they were all scary, but they're not all scary.
No. And neither are his movies. There's a lot of fun.
They are. But, I think it's great that he likes funny things, but he also likes somewhat scary and psychologically thrilling stuff. Mm-hmm. Right.
I believe he used the television crew to direct Psycho.
Really?
Because the budget was super small on that movie.
Oh, wow.
And it became one of his highest grossing films. Yes. You've still not watched that movie, but we will correct that in the future.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Did you like it? Were you scared?
I wasn't scared, but I thought it was a fun movie.
Didn't you say that Janet Leigh couldn't take a shower for a while because of that scene where she's stabbed in the shower?
The rumor is, and who knows how much of this is Hollywood fiction that they just say during the press release or,
yes,
years later when they're doing the DVD,
yes,
versus reality. But the story I heard is she was never able to take a shower again.
Oh, jeez.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, that's too bad for her. Okay.
Yes, babes. Is there anything else you want to say about either of these two episodes?
I would still recommend that anyone watch the series because I've seen some good ones too, and some of them were strange, but it is fun. It really makes you kind of think, like, well, why would this be like this? Why would this story end like this?
What did you think of his daughter being in the second one we watched?
I thought she was great.
Yes, she was.
I thought she did a really good job. Mm-hmm. I wonder if she was in any other things.
I think she might have done some cameos in other films, but I don't know for sure.
Yeah. I think she was great, actually. Yes. I think her father was proud. And I thought it was really funny when he says, by the way, Basil and Diana never got married.
He says they reconnected a couple weeks later and their story has a happy ending. They never married.
They never married. I thought that was funny.
Yes.
Very funny.
It makes me wonder, babes. Mm-hmm. We're a youngish couple.
Yeah.
I wonder, on the night when that first episode airs, let's just say 1956, right? Mm-hmm. And who knows if that's correct or not. Mm-hmm. Let's say it's a night in 1956. A young couple who's kind of like us gets together and watches that episode and laughs at the end. Mm-hmm. What did their lives turn into?
Watches that? You mean like what happens with the couple?
Watches that particular episode. Mm-hmm. And they laugh at the end of it. What happens to that couple who watches that episode? Who's maybe similar to us in some ways.
It could go either way. They could laugh at the entire thing and say, "What in the world was this episode supposed to?"
No, but I mean, what are their lives like after?
What are their lives like after?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I mean,
they could have happy lives.
That's true.
Or they could be together for a season and then they just drift apart and eventually out of each other's lives.
That's true, Jay. Whoa.
So we don't know.
We don't.
We don't know.
Yes.
Honestly. Yes. We can only speculate.
Yes. Do you feel like we did these two episodes justice?
As best as we could do because the endings are just really bizarre.
Would you recommend these episodes to anybody?
I would, but just keep in mind it may not make sense.
Mm.
No, they were good. It's just, the endings don't make sense at all. No. But some Alfred Hitchcock stuff did not make sense to us.
And it's usually the earlier films, I've noticed.
Yeah.
Pre-1940.
Yeah, like the beginning, the original, The Man Who Knew Too Much. Very strange.
Yes. Was it 39 Steps?
The 39 Steps?
It was good, but it was a little bit hard to follow.
Yeah, that was weird. I liked the later version of The Man Who Knew Too Much.
Oh, that's a really good movie.
That was great. That was great. Yes. But the 39 Steps, that was hard.
It had good stuff in it. All of it, I've never hated his movies.
No.
There are things in some of his movies that I hated, but I never hated the movie.
You hated it? You mean like the plot?
There are some things in some of his films that I've hated as far as scenes or particular choices.
Oh, okay.
But I've never come away from his movie thinking that was a bad movie. I just maybe barely liked it as opposed to loving it. You know what I mean?
Right, exactly. Well, I think what I like a lot from his movies isn't just the funny parts, but like a movie like Marnie, right?
Yeah.
Marnie really got you to think about stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Is this person the way she is because of the wounds that she never recovered from? I'm not going to give away the movie because we talked about it before, but it's stuff like that. I mean, he really makes you think.
He was great. He's one of a kind.
Yes.
I heard somewhere that Tarantino thought he was overrated.
Really?
Which is really surprising because in some ways, he's... I consider Tarantino in some ways like the modern day Hitchcock.
Oh, really? Why is that?
Because his films are interesting. They're very divisive. They always have these like weird twists to them. And he always tries to inject him, not always, but a lot of the times will try to put himself into the movie.
Yeah, like in Jackie Brown, right?
Yes. Where he does the answering machine.
You have no messages. Yes.
Yes.
I said, who's that? And you're like, it's Quentin Tarantino. I'm like, it is? That's interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I definitely do not see Alfred Hitchcock as overrated.
No.
And I wish I would have discovered him earlier in my life, but I'm glad I discovered him with you.
Yes, at least you discovered him. That's the important thing.
When did you start, looking at his stuff?
In middle school, I watched The Birds and Psycho, but I didn't really go beyond that until we started dating.
The Birds just creeped me out.
The pandemic, yeah. And, last summer I watched, I almost said Vertigo, which I did watch last summer, but I watched Rear Window for the first time a couple weeks before we saw it together. And that film was just, that movie still blows me away.
And I think you're right though. It's a really good summer movie. And in fact, we saw it during the summer, right?
Yeah, we saw it in August. And that movie is such a good August movie. It feels hot when you watch it.
Yes. If a movie could feel hot, that did. But it was such a good movie.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I'm glad you're going down the Hitchcock rabbit hole with me.
I am. I think it's just clever that he would inject himself into his movie because it just makes it so interesting. How he was watching, it's like he was watching the birds attack people from the bus stop shelter or the bus stop bench.
Yeah, he's really good.
What was the one movie that he ended up in the newspaper?
We talked about it before.
I don't know.
Lifeboat.
And we never saw that one yet.
No.
Okay.
But we could potentially watch it at some point.
Do you know what that one's about?
It's about people stuck on a lifeboat.
Oh.
Yeah. And I think they're there for the whole movie.
Oh, wow. The lifeboat. No.
Exciting and new. Soon you'll be having another corpse.
The corpse.
Lifeboat.
The corpse.
Yeah, because people can't live on there forever.
No, they can't.
Yes.
No, they can't. They have to eventually get off the lifeboat.
Or die.
Well, it's just to sustain life for a little while.
Yes.
Yes.
I think we cover those episodes well.
I think so too.
Did you have any dreams last night?
Oh, yes, I did. It was kind of strange. So, I'll tell my dream and then you can tell yours because yours is really, from what I understand, is really interesting. I had a dream that I was in a van with some people. I couldn't tell you how many, but I remember I was sitting next to a woman on my left and there was this kid named Jim on my right. And it kind of reminded me of the times where I would be in a van with some friends on our way to visit, to see our families at our pickup location, after leaving the blind school. And, I was talking to this woman about being a student at the blind school in Vancouver, Washington, and it was implied that we were in Vancouver, Washington. And I was just talking to these people, and then all of a sudden I hear Brick House, and the lady starts singing along, and I'm like, why am I hearing Brick House? And I wake up and I realize that that's what's playing on my on my dot. It's Brick House.
Goodness.
Yeah, it was really funny.
So you and I went to sleep around midnight and woke up a little bit after 5.
Actually, it wasn't even midnight yet.
It was close enough.
All right.
I said around midnight.
Okay.
It was 11:56. No.
Oh my goodness.
It was a little bit earlier than that, but not by much.
Okay.
Yes. And I had a dream. So I don't want to get too into this because I don't want to blow up anybody's spot. And this person has since moved on with their life.
Yeah.
But let's say over 10 years ago, I had a thing with this girl, right? And in the dream, I get into the passenger side seat of her car, and it's just me and her. We have to run errands, but it's just me and her for a while talking about life. And she's telling me her experience of the time that we knew each other and really going in depth about it and how her life has evolved since then. And I hear her spiel and I'm getting ready to explain my thoughts on the situation when I woke up. Mm-hmm. And I felt really good after this dream because in life, you will meet people and do things that you regret. Mm-hmm. Perhaps picking up some baggage along the way. Mm-hmm. I will say, since I knew this girl, I've reached out to her to apologize for some of my behavior, and she forgave me. And this was years and years ago, right?
Okay, so she did reach out. She did reach out to you.
I reached out to her.
Okay.
And she said, "Oh, don't worry about it."
Yeah, it's fine.
Right.
Yeah.
But I've always carried around a tinge of regrets. Mm. And my thought after I woke up from the dream was, do I believe that the things I heard from her in my dream were real? No. Mm-hmm. But do I believe that this is maybe a sign from the universe that it's okay for me to let this baggage go and no longer worried about how I behaved in the past around her? Yes. And that feels like a big relief, and I feel very good about that.
And I've explained that there are times where I've had dreams where there was some unfinished business that I felt like I had in my head and in my heart, whatever it is, with people from my past. And dreams can help you, in some ways, dreams can help you get through that and try to make sense of what has happened, or make sense of what happens afterwards, and saying goodbye to this person or welcoming them back in, whichever what it is.
Yeah.
Usually for me, it's like saying goodbye and coming to some kind of a closure. I mean, that's what happened with me when my uncle died. This is just an example about where I would have dreams about seeing him and being around him and, having, in my dreams, there were dreams where I would be with him in a house and he would be calling people up and saying, I love you. Hi, I just wanted to say hello, or I miss you. And it reminded me of how he used to, he would find a way to call me and my family because he was very, family oriented. He was very connected with his family, and how, one dream is where I saw him and he was with me and we weren't talking, we were just hugging, and then he leaves and in the dream I'm back in my room crying, and I think it's because that was a way that maybe that was a dream where he's saying goodbye or I'm saying goodbye. But that's happened to me before.
It's always very powerful when something like that occurs.
Yes, it is.
Hopefully it's always powerful.
Oh, yeah, it is. It is. It really is. I think there's a reason why we have dreams like that, and it makes you feel good afterwards. And I'm like, you know what? I can move on now. Mm-hmm. I don't have to have forgiveness from them. Sometimes it doesn't require that, because there are people that won't ask you to forgive them. Or you may not ask the person to forgive you, but if there's a way you can work it out, even if it's in a dream, then that is very powerful.
Yeah, and in my case, I did ask for forgiveness.
Oh, sorry.
In my case, I did ask for the person for forgiveness, and in her defense, she reached out pretty quickly and said, "Okay, I understand."
Yeah.
But it's just me not letting it go, right?
Yeah.
And now I feel like I can. Now, who knows? Maybe tomorrow I'll be like, Yeah. But for right now, I feel good about it.
That happened to me too, when I reconnected with somebody from the blind school, 2 years later. And at that point, I was at a program, and he was a prospective student, and he came up to me and said, "You know what? I'm really sorry I tortured you in school." And I'm like, "Nah, that's okay. That's fine. I mean, I didn't like it at the time, but I can move on, and it's not that big a deal.
It was one weekend. I wasn't in the cage too long, and
What?
you released me, so it's all good.
It wasn't a weekend.
Oh.
No, he had this big crush on me, and I wasn't having it.
Oh.
I even went to a dance with him, but yeah, I'll have to explain that one to you later.
Yes,
but he asked for my forgiveness. I said, or he said he was sorry, and I'm like, nah, no big deal. It's fine.
Nice.
It's okay. It's not that big a deal. The fact that you acknowledge it, the fact that he acknowledged it is fine with me.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, those dreams are really powerful.
They are.
Yes.
Is there anything else you want to talk about, babes?
No, I can't believe it's Thursday. I mean, normally you wouldn't come over on Tuesday, but I mean, some interesting things happened this week so far, and I've been having a really, really great week so far, and it's all because of you, Bubs.
Thank you, babes. We have some exciting stuff coming up that we won't get into right now because I think we talked about them already in other episodes. But
yes,
we're gonna have some fun, hopefully.
Yes, we are.
Unless one of us dies or gets extremely injured.
No.
The city burns down.
Get those thoughts out of your head.
Yes. Hopefully things
we are not going to think negatively.
Well, there was one point last year where I was like convinced Bernie Sanders is going to be our new president. And I felt that way for about 3 hours. And then I realized, oh, I was right. Joe Biden's going to get the nomination. So because of that, I don't want to get too ahead of myself.
Okay, I don't know why you mentioned that, but whatever.
Oh, I love you, babes.
I love you too.
Should we kiss? Because I don't remember if I can do this.
Yes, you have.
Have I?
You kissed me earlier.
Oh.
Okay, you.
I feel like Daisy and Bowfinger, except I only want to be with you.
You're not sleeping your way to the top?
No.
Okay.
Not anymore.
Oh.
No, I'm joking, babes.
Well, Heather Graham did a great job. I just thought it was really funny when she had that fake accent.
That was great.
Get. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Anyway,
babes, I think we're good.
I think we're good too.
I think we should make out real quick, and then you kick me out. I go home, and we do our thing.
Well, okay. I wouldn't really call it kick you out, but I would say nicely, Bubs, it's time to go.
You're not going to be, what was that band, Spit?
What?
There's this punk rock band, I think they were called Spit, and they had the song, "Get the fuck out of my face."
Are you talking about Saliva? There's a band called Saliva, but
maybe I'm thinking of Saliva.
I don't know what you're talking about, Bubs.
This is like the early 90s.
I have no idea.
I don't think it was a radio hit.
No, apparently not.
Yes.
They wouldn't play it on the radio.
Okay. I might be completely...
There's a band called Spit.
I might be completely butchering this and remembering it completely wrong. But...
Was it a breakup song?
I don't remember. You're not going to be like them.
Well, obviously it's not that memorable if you can't even remember the name of the song or the band.
Okay. You won't be like that, though.
No, I'm not mean.
Okay, good.
But you know, you have to do your thing, and I've got to have my space too.
I've got a new audio interface to play with.
But
I'm not getting the SD card until tomorrow. But still.
I will say this though, without going into too much, it is going to be different tomorrow. I'll just say.
Oh yeah, because I have homework I have to do.
Yeah.
From my mental health professional.
Yeah, and it's going to be weird not talking to you for the entire day.
I think maybe we could start that around 11.
Goodness.
We'll figure it out. I think maybe we could do a morning talk tomorrow. But we'll figure that out.
Okay.
Yes, and I say think, but
well, I also need to. And then we got something going on later on this weekend too. So
Back to the Future, possibly, if we can make that work. Yes,
but if not, I mean, there's obviously no rush, and we can figure it
do
out.
a virtual date, and
Yes.
Yes, we will be recording that, and nobody else will listen to it.
Except for us.
Except for us. Yes.
Or you.
Yes.
Well,
I'll send you a copy, babes.
Okay.
Yes. But in any event, maybe I told you that I have this fantasy that when my nephew gets to be like, I don't know, 25 or 30, he'll get like a hard drive that'll have not only music that I like, but like a lot of my work on there. And he'll like delve into my podcasts. And
well, then you're just going to have
dates.
to, Bubs,
what?
You're just going to have to make one for him.
I know.
He's not going to be doing it himself. I mean, and you don't even know when you're going to go.
I know that, babes. But, I want him to know me. And since he no longer lives here, and the plan was, he'll grow up around me. And that plan got ruined thanks to COVID. But maybe this way he'll get a chance to know me, in a different way.
Well, that plan got ruined because they had to move.
Because of COVID.
Okay.
Yes. That's what happened, babes.
I thought it was because of, I thought it was because of job prospects or whatever.
It was, but job prospects got ruined because of COVID.
Oh. Yes. Okay, well, we're not going to go down that rabbit hole.
Here, babes. But... so maybe in 30 years from now, my cousin will also hear this, and then he'll listen to the virtual date.
One can only dream. How old is your cousin?
I met my nephew.
Okay.
I don't know why. I have dyslexia, babe. I mix words up all the time.
Well, Bubs, cousin and nephew are not the same word.
I know, babe. Listen. Some people talk about how they know 15 different languages. I'm struggling with English. And it's my first language. So.
That's okay. That's okay. I'm not going to hold it against you.
But maybe this will get listened to in 30 years right before the virtual date gets listened to. So,
oh, goodness.
Have a fun time. Oh. If that's the next thing of mine to listen to. My nephew.
Oh, my goodness.
Okay. All right, babes. We good?
Yes, we are good.
I need a kiss, and then we'll wrap this up.
I thought I did that already.
Well, you're going to do it again now.
Okay. All right.
All right, babes. All right, babes. I love you.
I love you too. And have a wonderful Thursday, everybody.
Have a wonderful day.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.